On to abortion, because abortion was talked about a lot when it comes to family values.
Yeah.
I really don't think if a party is pushing for adoption to raise a child versus murder, that's not shying away from family values. That's not against family values. Because if that was really true, how come in pretty much every single state to date, if somebody is to term or carrying a child and they get murdered, it is a double murder. It's not a single murder, it's a double murder.
Sure.
So if the judicial system looks at it that way, shouldn't abortion be looked at the same way? Or is it based on the person decide, oh yeah, I could kill somebody or not?
Yeah, I can explain that to you. So first of all, I would like to tell you why I'm pro-choice. That's because I don't value, right, a unicellular life form that doesn't have the ability to display like first-person subjective experiences. Right? I don't value the fetus until it has that ability. That comes at about 20 through 24 weeks. But now that we got that out of the way, you do ask a great question. Right? How can I say that abortion isn't murder, then turn around and support legislation that would allow someone that kills a mother that is pregnant to be charged with double homicide? Well, I could tell you through an analogy. Let's say you have a car. What kind of car do you drive?
I drive a Malibu.
You drive a Malibu, okay. So if you go up to your Malibu, after we're done debating here, and you break the windshield, did you do anything wrong? No, it's your car. It's your property. You can make that decision.
It depends on what view you look at it.
Let's think about it this way. If you go up to your car and you consent to breaking your car's windshield, you didn't do anything wrong there. You have a right to do that. But if someone else just walking down the street goes up and breaks your car's windshield without your consent, did they do something wrong?
Okay, so let's break this down bit by bit. In the debate, Dean says that he does not value an organism which doesn't show first-person subjective experiences. However, this is completely arbitrary.
Wrong.
As Dean is a subjectivist. So for example, I could just subjectively and arbitrarily say that I think that I don't value human life until it is self-aware, because self-awareness separates humans from animals. This would basically allow me to justify infanticide all the way up till the age of 2. So ultimately, the only philosophical place and the safest philosophical place at which you could put the beginning of a value of personhood would be at conception. But then Dean goes on to give an analogy to basically justify his position on abortion. And in this analogy, he basically says if you owned a car, a Malibu, and you went to it and broke the windows of it, that you would be doing nothing wrong. However, if someone else came along and did it, they would be doing something wrong. Now, the problem with this analogy is that it is not analogous at all.
Wrong.
Me personally, I would not address the analogy. I would completely reject it outright and point out its fallacies and the fact that it is not indeed analogous. First and foremost, what Dean is basically doing right now is basically making the fetus the property of the person that it is in, even though scientifically it is seen as a completely distinctive being. Whether you think it is a person or not, scientifically on the biological level, it is completely accepted that at the point of conception, you have now formed a new completely separate being from the mother or the father, even though it is in the mother's womb. Because the fetus is a distinct being, and because we have established that the safest place to philosophically put the beginning of personhood is at conception, we can then therefore argue that the fetus has a right to self-ownership even though it is taking up residence in the mother's body. Meaning that the mother does not own the fetus, therefore she cannot just abort the fetus, which is why this analogy makes no sense whatsoever. Additionally, I find it kind of funny that Dean goes on, I think after this clip, to talk about antebellum slavery in the southern United States, and relating it to one of the other topics I can't quite remember. But the reason I find it so funny is because by making this analogy, he basically is on the side of antebellum slave owners.
Wrong.
He's basically arguing with this analogy that because the mother owns the fetus, the mother can cause harm in whatever way she wants to this fetus. So she can kill it, she can injure it, she can do whatever she wants because she has a right, or she has ownership over this separate distinct being, simply because this separate distinct being is temporarily in her body in order to develop, even though that is the natural way of things. And even though, for example, I would argue that a fetus does have a right to a woman's womb, particularly because the only way that a fetus can develop And the only way that humans can reproduce and continue to go on and have progeny is for a fetus to develop in a woman's womb.